Well, obviously, like everyone else, we're excited to be in the NCAA tournament. Our guys have worked very hard to be in a great position, but just really looking forward to the challenge of playing Farley Dickinson, who had a great win last night, did some really good things. Really liked their backcourt, their quickness, their skill, their ability to drive the basketball, and just their overall aggressiveness. They got some interchangeable pieces that are tough to go against with their athleticism and their length. And we're going to have to do a good job of taking care of the basketball on the offensive end, and then be able to contain them while also guarding the three-point line. They hit 7 threes in the first half, which was a big difference going into halftime, and made a couple more after that. But just really, really impressed with Farley Dickinson. Have a really good coach. You can see they're connected on both ends of the floor, and just looking forward to that challenge.
Adam? Adam Jardy with the Columbus Dispatch. Matt, I know in a coaching career there are ups and there are downs, and when there are downs and if they last for more than a game or two, what does it take as a coach to stick with what you believe in as like your core and not deviate too much from that? Obviously you have to change, maybe schemes and things like that, but like, what does it take to stick to what you believe in when things are really tough?
Yeah, just, your own personal convictions about how the game should be played or how your program should be run has nothing to do with an opponent, has nothing to do with the style of anything of that nature. We change a lot on our personnel. So, last time we made a really deep run to the Elite Eight, we had made and took the most three-pointers in the history of the Big Ten, and we didn't have a low-post guy. So you guys always say, we always have a low-post guy, which isn't true. It's close. But we really circle what we do around our best players, and I always say that in recruiting. If you become one of our top 2 or 3 scorers, we're going to circle the wagons around you. If you don't, then you're going to be one of the guys that we circle with, right? And you're going to be one of those guys that play off of those guys. But everybody's a rebounder, everybody's a defender, and that's how you win. What you're kind of leading towards is just winning ways. You can't have enough people on your staff, you can't have enough players on your team that are about winning. And sometimes that takes a little bit of time to gel and to have that, collaboration from everybody that understand what that's about, because a lot of kids want to play a certain role, and that's hard. That's a real hard sell to get everybody to do that. But if you have really good assistants that understand about evaluating the things that you get upset about, you should be thinking about in recruiting. And that's why we've done a much better job here the last 7-8 years, because we focused more on productivity than we have talent. Sure, you got to have the ability to play at this level, but how productive you are, is so important. And do you fit at your institution? At Purdue, you got to want to come to Purdue to get an education. You got to want to come to win a championship and sacrifice. And then just trying to stay there. Sometimes coaches, and I'm one of them, that has done this, you get blinded by your lack of talent in a certain area, so you just rush to get that certain area and fill that void. And then while doing that, you're messing with your chemistry. You're messing with your culture, and those need to be at the forefront of your decision. It gets difficult sometimes when you strike out on people, especially big guys. So you have we don't draft. All right, we got to recruit. So a lot of times who we want, sometimes you can't get. And so, but if you can get those guys, it's great. But if you can't, how do you maneuver when you absolutely have to have size? You get stuck and you have one big guy and then he fouls out. How do you play the game? It's really hard to, right? So you have to have depth and you have to do things. So there's a little bit of downside to how you collect your team, because once again, we don't draft.
Down here in front.
Yeah, Matt, Mark Cannizzaro for the New York Post. Obviously, Zach is used to being the tallest guy in the court.
Yeah.
What are the challenges, particularly in this game with Ainsley Almanor,
Right.
who's obviously more of a perimeter guy?
Right.
What are his challenges to try to, obviously he lives in the paint, essentially, Zach does. So
Yes.
Could you speak to that a little bit? What your
Yeah, he won't guard Almanar. Yeah, we'll cross match up and he'll guard the other guy. So I'm not giving him any secrets. Anybody that has a face-up 5 like that, we get Zach on the other guy, and then he guards him. So we've done that all year. We've done that ever since Zach got here. So, but Almenar's a great player. And that's what you normally make changes for, right? You make changes because someone's a great player, and he hit 5 threes. I think it was 5 threes, right, in the game other day. But he can really stretch it, but he can also drive the basketball. So in our last game, Zach guarded their backup point guard, for about 4 or 5 possessions, and it looks funny, right? You got a 7'4" guy guarding a 6-foot guy out there, but it's the lesser of all evils. So we normally, in those situations, when you have a big that can stretch the defense, we put him on the guy. Doesn't mean that guy can't expose him. We just find the guy that doesn't shoot as well, from the perimeter. With those guys, they have a lot of guys that can shoot. So you go to the lesser of all evils, and that guy can still shoot. So you still got to guard him, and you still got to play him. But we have a lot of experience of doing this. It doesn't mean that we can't be duped, but we do have a lot of experience.
If I could just ask an unrelated follow, what do you feel like the returning kids learned from the St. Peter's game last year in this tournament?
That St. Peter's played harder than we did. That's what they learned. I thought Shaheen Holloway did a better job than I did. I thought they played harder. I thought they were tougher. I thought they were quicker to the basketball. And normally when you get in the tournament, or really any game, if the talent's pretty equal, that team's going to win. So they did. St. Peter's deserved to win.
Bill?
Bill Bender, Sporting News. Coach, you've been around this for 30-plus years as a player and coach. I mean, how much on a day like today do you still allow yourself to feel, the joy and excitement that comes with being a part of it?
Yeah, it's, everybody will text you that or tell you that, and it's a little hard to do when you're involved with it, but you got to take a step back and, just appreciate, what our guys have done for our program and what they've sacrificed, and how cool it is just to coach in an NCAA tournament game and, and to be in this position. But, just like anything, you got to go out and compete, and you got to have a good fight to you. So that's really what your focus is, trying to get your players on edge. You got to work harder than the other team, but you also got to work smarter.
Here in the back.
Matt, Michael Cohen from Fox Sports. I think you probably would have been in about 4th or 5th grade when the 1980 team made its run. What memories, if any, do you have from that? And then now, to what extent do you try and educate your guys about, the history there and what it means to them, knowing that this is a team that potentially has the chance to make that kind of run as well?
Yeah, my whole family went to Indiana, so I was actually an Indiana fan at the time. That changed, obviously, when I was 18. I just remember Indiana getting beat in Lexington, by Purdue. And I think it was they played Duke, I think, or vice versa. I don't know the chronological order there. And I do know Purdue played a game at Mackey Arena, just like Indiana in '81 when they won it. They won their last 2 games in Assembly Hall. So things have changed, right? Things are, you don't play on home courts anymore. The thing I remember is just Joe Barry Carroll more than anything, just how dominant he was. And I told one of his teammates, a guy, last year after the season was over, I just said if I played Zach Edey 30 minutes, he'd have numbers like Joe Barry Carroll. And he laughed at me and told me I was crazy. And then he called me the other day and said he has numbers like Joe Barry Carroll, actually a little bit better. So, but that's what I remember. And, obviously getting a special run like they had, like anybody has that gets that thing, that's what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to play your best basketball at this time of the year.
Over here on the right.
Hey, Matt, I'm Greg Doyle. I'm with the Indy Star. Nice to meet you.
I've heard of you.
Yeah. How's Zach handling the 30 games or whatever it's been of being the guy that everybody's hitting on? I mean, just physically and mentally. How is he, the wear and tear? It doesn't seem to be affecting him, but you tell me.
Right. Yeah, I think he's all right. I think that's probably a better question for him. But I think he does a good job. The thing that's interesting is, players lie to you when they come to the huddle. Like you'll try to ask him a question about getting fouled and say, hey, what happened there? Did you get fouled? Man, I got creamed. I got smoked. I got hit. Then you go back and watch film and they don't get touched, because every player's that way. I don't know a good player that doesn't cheat on the score in a pickup game. That's just kind of part of your gamesmanship in going about things. But when he outwardly, argues about something and you go back and watch film, he's right. He doesn't argue much, but when he does argue, he gets hit down there. But he's kept a great attitude. And, we had a tough stretch there. I thought the refereeing in the Big Ten was really good the last 5-6 games in regards to him. I thought in the Big Ten tournament it was good in regards to him. Before that, we had about a 5-game stretch where, it was, like a hockey game. And so he should be successful since he's a hockey player. and be all right with it. But I think that was a little frustrating for him. And, we just had to focus and worry about what we can control. And but he does a good job. He's a very down-to-earth person. And, he just stays the course and keeps battling.
Tom Withers, Associated Press. Matt, it's 23 years since a Big Ten team has won it all, and it's not like schools haven't made deep runs. You've had a number of teams in the championship games. Do you have any theories as to why you guys have not been able to finish? Is it just brutalizing each other during the year? Is it just kind of the nature of the beast of this tournament?
Yeah, I would think there's a lot of different probably reasons, but like putting your finger on just like one thing why that's happened. I always look at it, and I talk about this in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. You got to do your part without sitting there looking at your whole league and say something in theory why it hasn't happened. I can sit here and tell you that, Purdue's got to do a better job. I got to do a better job. And you just got to keep fighting. And the thing that you have to do is keep putting yourself in the position that we're in right now. We've been a top 5 seed, I think, for 6 straight tournaments, maybe 7 straight tournaments. So we've put ourselves in really good positions. Just keep doing it. Like, keep fighting. There's a lot of negativity when you lose. You get beat in the first round, you get beat in the Sweet 16, you get beat in the Elite 8, whatever it might be. A lot of that, it's, I wish it was easier. It's just not. There's really good teams that you're playing, and you just got to be better. But that's what we got to do as a whole when it comes from Purdue. We just got to be better, but we got to keep competing. And you got to understand it could be your time right now, so then you wouldn't be able to ask that question. But that's just kind of our focus. And instead of putting it on everybody else, like, let's put it on ourselves and let's be better and do a better job of representing our league.
We'll move to our right side first in the front, then in the back.
Sam King, Journal and Courier. I think it was Caleb First who told me maybe a week or two ago, it just feels like Groundhog Day because we're playing Big Ten team after Big Ten team. Now you've played 23 in a row. How much of a breath of fresh air is it to go see some different strategies and see some teams that you're not familiar with?
Yeah. When you get in conference, I think that holds true in any conference, is like, the opponent actually knows your stuff better than you do. When you get into some of those games, it gets really difficult. But it's also, the different style, and so like now you're going to face different styles if you can keep advancing, and you got to adjust to them. I think the one point to it is you're hoping what you do is harder for them to adjust to than what you got to adjust to them. And I think Zach kind of holds true for that. If you've not faced him, people have taken him away, and then he's gotten 10 offensive rebounds in a game. People have played him one-on-one, and he gets 30. People have doubled him, and he's gotten 30. People have done different things. So you're hoping through that and through our team's willingness to play through him that we're causing more problems for them than they are us. But, after a while when you're constantly playing teams that are physical, that know your stuff, I think it'll be really, really good to get in here to where, they're going to call fouls by the letter of the law, and you're facing some different people also.
I'm at Michael Presti, NCAA.com. When you have a program whose core value is competing hard, as Purdue's is, how hard was that lesson to learn that in the NCAA tournament stage last year, the other side competed harder?
Yeah.
And how much of a driving force should that be now? The win or lose, you never let that happen.
Right. Well, what's frustrating as a coach is that we played well against Yale, and we played well against Texas, and obviously advanced to the Sweet 16. So there's no red flags that you're not going to step out and take care of the basketball and compete harder than we did. And so then when it happens, because that's your job, right? That's your job as a coach, to be able to see some things because it is your team that others can't see from the outside. So that was a real surprise kind of for us. But we knew as a coaching staff how tough they were. And they actually had played better in the previous games. St. Peter's had played better against Kentucky and played better against Murray State than they had played against us. And but they were tough as nails, man. And so you learn from it. And you never fix that. Like, you never get to where, I always say that about rebounding and taking care of the basketball. The same that goes with toughness. Like, you never get to a point and say, hey, we're tough on tough and we can't be any tougher than we are. You never get to a point and say, hey, we've got the rebounding solved. We're going to dominate the glass by 20 every single game. We got the turnover solved. We're only going to turn the ball over 6 to 8 times every single game. It's just not the way it is. Different styles, a lot of different factors that go into it. So, you keep going. It's hard to take, but you keep going and you learn from it, and then hopefully you don't let it happen again.